Oh, I just realized I didn't put the microphones on. Surprise! Alright, everybody, hope you're doing well. That was kind of a backfire, but... Okay, that's better. Alright. Hi, everybody. Happy Groundhog Day. That's a great old song and tune called Groundhog. It's so strange. For those of you not in the U.S. and not aware, or not aware of Groundhog Day, it's a very strange holiday in the U.S. where Punxsutawney Phil in Pennsylvania comes out of his hole. He's a groundhog. And if he sees his shadow, he gets scared and goes back in his hole. And we have 6 more weeks of winter. I don't know what it's like in Pennsylvania, but it's pretty cloudy here, so fingers crossed that winter's almost over, but I really have my doubts. Welcome to Mando Lessons Live. Every Saturday that I'm here, this happens. Great to see so many familiar faces and some new names as well. We've got folks from Evansville, Michigan, Greenville, South Carolina, Tel Aviv, Minnesota, Scotland, Montreal, Oklahoma, Isle of Skye, New Jersey, New York, Vancouver Island, Puerto Rico, Kentucky, Canada as well. Oh, cool. Canada has Groundhog Day as well. Ohio. Great. Good to have you all here. Nice to be inside it. I'm not in the polar vortex here in Maine, but it's not warm. Oh, report is Phil did not see his shadow. All right. There we go. I can see the flowers poking through the couple feet of snow we have already. California, Texas, left coast, Germany. All right. Well, for those of you who are new here, thanks for joining in. I like to keep these nice and nice. I forget the word I'm looking for here, but relaxed is the word I'm going for. As you can tell, I forgot to put the microphones on my camera right at the beginning there, so a little bit of a scramble. But this is a great time. If you have any questions, we've already got a couple questions in here, which is great to see. I love seeing the chat stay active. Great time to ask questions. I love hearing what people are thinking about, what they're working on. Happy to do requests as long as they are in the public domain. Can't do anything copyrighted or else they'll get flagged here on YouTube, but I'll do my best. And yeah, I love hearing what people are working on, how you all are doing. Great to see everybody once again. I love doing these. This is episode 42. They're flying by and it's already February. Have Dog Will Travel, starting things off, says, I have a question about strum patterns. I play a song, it has chords above the staff. How can I determine what strum pattern do I use for that particular measure of the song? I think a lot of it, kind of in a, not thinking too much about music theory, you can sort of get a sense of it. So if we're thinking about like, what's the 9-pound hammer is a good example. Maybe it'll go the key of A. This 9-pound hammer, and you'd see that A over the word hammer. It's a little too heavy, and you might see a D chord over heavy. For my side, and you might see an E chord over side. For my side, and back to A. So what I think a great thing to do is just start by strumming those chords. Don't worry too much about time. And see if you can so let's do that once. This 9-pound hammer is an A chord. It's a little too heavy. It's a D chord. For my side, it's an E chord. And back to A for my side. And then maybe you can either clap or stomp your foot. This 9-pound hammer. It's a little too heavy for my side, for my side. So that's going to give you a nice pattern to start with. So you can just strum every of those beats. This 9-pound hammer, it's a little too heavy for my side, for my side. Roll on, buddy, roll a little cold. How can I roll when the wheels won't roll? So you have a basic kind of time signature now. You can think of it as 2 or 4, or just kind of that beat. And then, so you have the simplest of the beats now. You've got kind of like a time frame that you're working in. And from there, you can start to, taking da, da, da. You can turn that into some of the strum patterns that I talk about in my lessons. Like the guitar strum pattern goes from to kind of the bass strum. Or the chop is going to be the off. bum, 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 etc. So finding that first kind of beat, whether it's tapping your foot or clapping your hands, kind of knowing where the chords are going to be expected by kind of playing out of time, finding that beat, getting your right hand just like downstrokes. 9-pound hammer, it's a little too heavy for my side, for my side. So your right hand is just being that clap, and then start getting more fancy with your strums. Hope that's helpful. Let's see, catching up with the chat here. Whoa, it jumped as it always does. Austin, Texas, Germany, Wisconsin. 001 Uncle Daddy says, I ate the groundhog. I don't know that I've ever eaten groundhog. I've eaten beaver. I had like a beaver pot roast once. But I don't think I've ever eaten the groundhog. Uncle Bobby, Have Dog Will Travel, and Andrew, and Dan Dipper, thank you all so much for the super chat donations that just came through. Really helps me continue to put out these live sessions every Saturday, or most Saturdays, and new lessons all the time, new lessons every week. If you're not subscribed already, it might be a good reason to hit the subscribe button. But I think most of the people here are subscribed. I don't know how else you'd find out about this live session. But in any case, thank you all so much. There's a couple ways to donate if you're not familiar. You can do super chat donations through YouTube. There's you can donate through PayPal on my website, or in the description you can become a Patreon member, get some perks over there, like private. I have patron only live streams once a month. I have you get the lessons early, you get free play along tracks, things like that on Patreon if you want to become a member over there. That said, this stuff's always free and always will be. So not a requirement by any means, but always appreciated when donations are made. So thank you everybody who has. Hello from France. Thanks for joining us. Minnesota. I like that. Fiddling with my whistle. Awesome. Good to have you here. Johnny is still in a cast. Got taken off Monday, and I actually wrote a song for when I'm playing D&D as a bard, but it hurt too much, and now it's back in the cast. Oh, sorry to hear it. I'm sure you'll heal up eventually, and it'll be that much sweeter when you get back to playing music. All right. Brabant 50, apologies if I'm not saying your name properly, says play a Quebecois tune. Gladly. All right, and another request for Big Scioto from Scioto County in Ohio. So we got Quebecois, Big Scioto, Whiskey in the Jar. That's a song. I don't think I have a lesson on that. I don't think it's copyrighted, but I need to look into that. I'm pretty sure it's super old, but I always got to do my research first. But that's a good. I've gotten a lot of requests for that one. I think it's on my list anyway to look into. But I'll play a little medley of a Quebec tune called, what is that called? Contredanse. It's called La Contredanse. And then I'll play Big Scioto, and they're not altogether unsimilar. Big Sow to go. Alrighty. There it is, a little contredanse, which I don't believe is on my website, and then Big Sciota. That first tune's a great crooked tune, so that doesn't quite have the same number of beats as you'd expect to go. It keeps kind of going a little longer, but it's super fun. Maybe I'll make a lesson for it at some point. And yeah, I found those two tunes were so similar that I had trouble getting into Big Sciota after that first one. Got a question as part of the super chat from Andrew. Says, any advice for the B part of Julia Delaney's? Are you rocking your finger there or fretting individually, if that makes sense? Makes total sense. Here's what I'm doing. I gotta remember it. Definitely rocking. I'm actually kind of smashing enough of my finger in there that I can kind of get both without having to do too much rocking. I do a little bit, I think, but it's very kind of slight, just more of a wiggle than a really pronounced rock. But yeah, that's definitely a nice way to kind of get that to ring out. Especially those tunes in like D minor and F. That B part, some people will play an F chord for it. So, and then a C, and then a D minor, C, and D minor. So you get that F. And in sort of straight F major tunes, you'll hit that kind of rocking thing a lot as well. Great question. Definitely try to keep those fingers down if you can. Lawrence says, are you just playing the top 3 strings? A lot of times I am, yeah. A lot of times I'll just do 2 and 3 string chords. So I'll just like... versus... makes it a little more mellow, easier to kind of hear the melody over and sing over top of. From Francois, any advice on creating a practice plan, daily, weekly? I think it's really different for everybody. That said, I think something you can do is sort of try to maximize, I would say, try to play every day, if you can, even if it's just for like 60 seconds a day. I think a big thing that I do that I think is really helpful for me is just I have the mandolin just like somewhere safe where it's not going to get sat on or stepped on or knocked over by an animal. but it's out of its case. I got a lot of these. You can see hanging on the wall. I've got a lot of instruments hanging on the wall, and it's just that much easier to pick it up, strum a little bit. I'll like attach put an attachment on an email and wait for it to load and play for 30 seconds. So it doesn't. I think lots of little practice times is really important rather than not practicing all week and then trying to put in 2 hours on the weekend. So, but in terms of kind of content of like what you're practicing, I would say mix it up. Try to practice as small of a thing as you can. So like really try to work on right hand technique, or like staying nice and relaxed with your right hand, or keeping your left hand fingers down, but not both of those at the same time. Or like if you're working on a tune, really work on getting the melody of that tune down or getting the pick direction down. And do little chunks at a time, so you're not really you're not forcing yourself like, okay, I'm gonna work on left hand technique for the next hour and a half. That's not going to be helpful. Work on something thoughtfully and with good concentration for a few minutes, and then move on to something else. Let your interests kind of carry you where you want to go. Make sure you're having as much fun as possible. Don't force yourself to do things because you feel like you, like, quote unquote, should do them. Take note of what you're feeling like you're kind of falling down, or what's kind of falling behind in the balance of your practice and playing, and say like, oh, I was really struggling in the key of A the other day when I was at that jam and they were playing 9-pound hammer in the key of A. Let me put some time into that one and do it for a while, and if you get bored of it, move on to something else. But I think music, number one thing is music's supposed to be fun, so maximize fun. Play a little bit every day if you can, a couple times a day, even if it's just for a couple minutes. And I think that's a big thing, is just kind of those few things will really make you improve quickly. All right, Greg from Ontario. And David requests another one of my own pieces. Cool, I can do that. Hello from Siberia. Awesome. Have you ever tried rockabilly licks on the mandolin? Not really. You were experimenting with a few the other day. Cool. Yeah, that sounds fun. I don't have a whole lot of experience with rockabilly. I've listened to a little bit, but oh, yes, my name. I often forget to introduce myself. My name is Baron Collins Hill, and I run a website called MandoLessons.com, which is a lot of this sort of stuff. I've got hundreds of lessons here on YouTube. It's all free, kind of donation based if you feel like it, but always free. New lessons every week, and that's sort of my deal, and I love doing it. Gail says, I'd love to hear On Common Ground. Good to see you, Gail. That can definitely happen. Wondering if you think the Nashville number system is effective playing the mandolin as the guitar. I definitely think it is. Especially, with it becomes super handy when you're playing with guitar players, often in like a folk or a bluegrass context. Guitar players, if you're going to play in the key of, B, the guitar player is going to capo up. You're going to get away from like the kind of the home positions on a guitar. They're going to capo. And then rather than, putting a capo on and then they say like, okay, the chord is G. We're capo 4, so B. And then we go to a C because that's what it's actually a E. And then you go to your D chord. That's actually an F sharp. There's that kind of mismatch between where your fingers are and the chord that's coming out because of the capo. It's a lot easier to say like, oh, it's going 1, 4, 5, 1, 1, 4, 5, 1, things like that. So I think kind of getting used to the Nashville number system. Start with 1, 4, 5. Don't worry much about the minors at first. Just try to get that sound. I put out a lesson recently called The House, the Yard, and the Deep Dark Woods. That's a good way to help kind of think about 1, 4, 5 as well. If it's something you need a little mnemonic device for it. Bravant50 says, love the tune. Can you post music? Yeah, I'll look for it. I could make a lesson for that at some point, I expect. That would be fun. I don't have a whole lot of Quebecois stuff up, and I love that music. Cool. Gregory says, we added Big Scioto to our list of set for local folks. Awesome. Where did it go? Morgan says, how do you decide what chords to throw in with Big Scioto while playing the melody like that? A lot of it comes from, you can actually, something that'll help is going, if you look in the technique and fundamental section of my website, there's a whole series on double stops. And as I go through, I talk about hitting like open strings and then kind of double stopped strings, and then also kind of thinking about melodies in terms of chords. And a lot of times you can actually lay a chord underneath your melody, so you kind of have kind of chord melody ideas in a folk context rather than its more common jazz context. But check out those. I think that series will really help you go in that direction, and then work on a bunch of tunes in the same key. So work on getting those kind of chords underneath the melody in a bunch of tunes in the key of G, and you'll start using those same shapes over and over again for double stops and kind of chords laying underneath. Do a half dozen tunes in G, then do a half dozen tunes in D, and that'll really help cement that muscle memory a little better than switching keys all the time. Flight of the Bumblebee. I wish I could play Flight of the Bumblebee. That's a great and wild tune, but I don't know it, unfortunately. That's my best interpretation of Flight of the Bumblebee. Fiddling with My Whistle says in the book Folk Songs in North America, folk music historian Alan Lomax suggests that the song originated in the 17th century. Cool, yeah, so that's for Whiskey in the Jar. I wouldn't doubt it for a second. Nancy says, just signed in. What's with the money thing I see? That's a totally optional thing. There's a way that YouTube's set up so you can make little kind of donations on live broadcasts like this. It's totally optional, but that's sort of it's called Super Chat. That's what you're seeing, that kind of light up in colors in the chat. There's a couple ways to donate on my website, but that's all totally optional. And if you're just here to have a good time, keep up the good work. What do we have here? Bradman50, thank you so much for the Super Chat donation while we're on the donation topic. Really appreciate it. How old am I? I am 29, about to turn 30 in a little over a week. Cool, Arnold, good to have you here. Glad you made it. Do you know the harp mandolin? I do not. Lewis says, I was stumbling around on YouTube last night and found a video of you and Owen doing Multnomah March and Lucy Fars. Very nice. Was that at Fiddle Camp? That was at Fiddle Camp. Yep. So my buddy Owen Marshall, who's a great guitar and bouzouki and kind of everything player, and I get together and do some gigs every once in a while, but also play a lot. We met at Fiddle Camp, main Fiddle Camp, where I kind of got into all this music. And yep, there's some videos of us. If you search my name, Baron Collins Hill, and Owen Marshall, you'll find a couple videos of us playing at main Fiddle Camp. That's always a lot of fun, and I love playing with Owen. Yes, this room is very full of instruments, Dan. Leslie from the Blue Ridge Mountains, glad to have you here. Covering Bases said, I had an idea where each week one of us sends you a short sound file or video of us playing, and you dissect it on here. That's a good idea. Maybe that could be a good segment for that. I'm going to write that down because I've seen other people do that sort of thing. And that would be a super fun thing to do. Let me see. Add a new note. Thank you for that great idea. That's a good request. Multi-sect. I like that. The chat keeps jumping on me. That's why I keep losing my place. I don't think I'll. I think all of you are a lot better than you're making out. You all sound good. And from what I've seen and heard, and recovering basis from what I've heard you talk about, it sounds like you got plenty of good music going on, and I'm sure you're great. Adventures by Chance. Hello from North Florida. Great to have you here. Cool. Glad you're enjoying the play along video with Soldier's Joy. I've really been enjoying making those. I've got more in the hopper. I really want to make kind of one for every kind of bluegrassy and old time tune. I didn't know it'd be such a hit when I started making them, but got a lot of positive feedback on them, so I'll keep doing them. What time is it? Oh yeah, okay. So we got a question on time zones. Great. Yeah, glad to do it, Gregory. Thanks for watching and picking along and putting more music out in the world. Asya says, apologies if I got your name wrong. Earlier this week, it's been a year since I got my mandolin. Not sure how far I've gotten without your channel. Thanks so much for doing what you're doing. Well, happy 1 year anniversary with the mandolin. Many years to come. Just keep playing as much as you can. And it only gets more and more fun as it goes. And I'm glad you are finding my stuff helpful. Thanks for picking. Cool. Request for more online fiddle tunes and tab sheets. Definitely. There's more of that coming too, always. There's more tunes. That's the nice thing is I've got an endless well of tunes to make lessons for. I'm never going to run out. Mr. Cough Drop, good to see you here. Says, I was watching a few folks play Smashville on the mandolin. Sierra Hull's version is somewhat the pinnacle of that piece. Is it copyrighted? Can't find tabs. I've never even heard of that one. Maybe it's like, yeah, it could be like a contemporary copyrighted thing. You could ask on Mandolin Cafe about like the history of the tune and see if anyone has sheet music for it. But I've never heard of it. Oh, Cat Came Back. I played that in the past, but I can't remember off the top of my head. Good to see you, Worm Picker.